Good morning and welcome to the Dance to Learn podcast with your host, Jessica Strong. The Dance to Learn podcast is the place for dance educators and studio owners to get the best dance teacher resources, tips, and advice to help you dance, learn, and grow right along with your students. Let's get into today's episode.
And we are here with Jessica, and she is one of our special guests for the month, and I'm super excited that she's here to share all of the awesomeness that she has prepared for us. I'm just going to let you guys take it away. Like always, if you're watching this on replay, drop your questions in the comments below, and I will get them over to Jessica, and I will also drop in any special links that she's going to share with us in the comments below. But other than that, I'm just gonna hand it over to her and let her tell you about her and everything that she does.
Great.
1 second. Technical difficulties.
All right, are we good to go? Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Strong, and I am the creative director and owner of Dance to Learn. So what I do for dance teachers and studio owners, I love the preschool ages. So I do a lot of creating of lesson plans and curriculum designed for those little ones between the ages of like 3 to 5 is really the age group that I love. And so today what I'm going to be talking about is how you can create a lesson plan that sort of tells a story from the start of class all the way through to the end of class. So I'm excited to share what I am sharing with you today. And I do have a couple free resources that I'll be sharing with you guys today, and a couple paid resources as well, which I'll get to at the end. But I will be sure to share all of the links and all of the resources that I do have with you guys, so you can access all of it, anything that you want to access. So I'm just going to jump into, I am going to share my screen with you guys, and hopefully you can see it. I don't know, Jennifer, if you want to unmute yourself and let me know that you can see my screen okay.
Yep, you're good to go.
Cool, awesome. So Dance to Learn, COVID was sort of a blessing for me because I've had this business for a while. But a little bit about my background, I started Dance to Learn way back when I started my in-school dance program, which back in the day it was called Dance Exploration. And then right before COVID happened, we went under a big rebranding, and we were going to change our name to Exploration Kids, and we were starting to expand and offer like yoga and cheerleading and gymnastics and all sorts of other things besides dance. And then COVID sort of shut us down because we were in the schools. And that was sort of a blessing in disguise, because I've really been able in the last year to focus on Dance to Learn, and I'm just loving everything that I'm getting to share with dance teachers and studio owners everywhere. So before I jump in, I just want to say thank you for letting me come on and share this today. And I'm really excited to talk about this because this is something that I love so much. Dance to Learn was my curriculum for my after-school program. I recognized pretty early on when I was doing the after-school thing that I was really going to need a curriculum for my teachers to follow, because when you don't have like a home base for a studio, I couldn't just pop into all of these schools that we were in and say, hey, how's it going? Like you sort of can when you have your own building. So Dance to Learn, the curriculum has been around for a while, but I would say Dance to Learn, the business, has really taken off in the last year. So I'm excited to get into this journey and talk a little bit more about the curriculum. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on in. And I'm really excited, so I'll try not to talk too fast either. So real quick, before I get too far into how to create an actual story, I sort of want to talk about what are the components of a lesson plan, or at least a dance to learn lesson plan, what I like to include. And the first thing that I always include inside my lesson plans is a theme. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what is a theme and why I believe a theme is a good way to go when planning out your lesson plans. So for me, the theme is really the subject or the focus of my monthly lesson plans, and I do rotate them out on a monthly basis. And then this way I can give my students an adequate amount of time to really learn the theme, comprehend the theme, and things like that. So a monthly theme is how I organize my lesson plans and curriculum here. And I think why you really need a theme, it's going to overall help keep your classes organized and focused. When I first started teaching preschool, I was very young. This was years ago, and I just sort of mimicked, I didn't have any training. I didn't go to college or anything because I was dancing in a professional ballet company at the time, so that was sort of my full-time job. And then I was teaching on the side just to earn some extra income. And my classes, before I was really focused on theming them out, they were really, really, really unorganized. So I think overall having a theme, it really helps hone in on your classes, on your lesson plan, and it's really going to help keep you organized and just focused as a whole. And then I also love how a theme really allows you to have a creative storyline for your classes. And so that's really what we're going to dive into later on in this training is what is a storyline, what does that look like, and how can you apply that to some different themes. So there are a couple things that I would say you should consider when creating a theme. So number one, I would make sure that your themes can apply to both girls and boys. I think in the dance industry, we sort of get caught up on, princess ballerina or fairy tale ballet, or unicorns, things like that. I like to do themes that are more, they apply to everybody, so we can be inclusive to girls and boys in our themes. And that really came from when I was teaching in the schools. We would get a lot of boys and girls in my classes, and I still get a lot of boys coming in. And so I think it's really important that we want to include them because boys benefit a lot from dance. So really think, is this theme going to exclude anybody? If it's just princess ballerina or fairy tale ballet. I do whole summer camps, and I have a whole other business that's princess themed because I do love my princesses a lot. Just when I teach my dance classes, I want it to be a little bit more inclusive for everybody. And then I also try to avoid any religious or holiday specific themes. So I don't do anything that's like Christmas or Easter or Valentine. I might use that as an inspiration, and I do on my website I do sell activities for those holidays if you are a religious program, but it's not something that I personally include in my program. I'll have some examples of my themes here in the next slide. What I would suggest when coming up with themes is get an idea of what your students are learning in school. My favorite thing about traveling into the schools when I was doing that was I would go in and the teachers would say, oh my goodness, we are learning about this right now. We're learning about our Arctic animals, or we're learning about how to plant a garden, or we're learning about the life cycle of a butterfly, whatever it is that they're learning about. I really tried to learn what they were learning during school during those months, and I tried to create curriculum and lesson plans that went along with that, so that a lot of seasonal things, and I'll get into that a little bit more later on in the slide. So here are some example themes. These are all themes that I teach every single month for the past, 11 years. So let me share what my themes are. So for January, I do Arctic Blast. This is exploring Arctic animals, polar bears, penguins, reindeer, things like that. February, so this is inspired by Valentine's Day. So we do Dance Friends Are the Best Friends, and we do a lot of relationship, dancing with partners. Maybe we'll grow a friendship garden, or we'll make friendship cupcakes, or whatever it is. So it's all about friends, friendship, dancing with partners, things like that. It got a little hard with COVID, so we danced with teddy bears for COVID. So if you're still like social distancing and stuff like that, those are some options. March is Dance Me a Story, and I chose that theme because of Read Across America Month. I love incorporating stories into my curriculum. That's really what this little webinar is all about. So that's one of my favorites, and we do Dr. Seuss, some Dr. Seuss stories, but we also do other stories as well during that month. April, we focus on April Showers Make Rainbows, which is a super fun theme, and we talk about the process of a rainstorm, maybe body shapes, curvy raindrops, angular lightning, twisted wind, curvy rainbows, things like that. May is May I Dance in the Garden. So obviously we're doing life cycle of a butterfly, we're doing planting a garden, things like that. June is Dancing Under the Sea. That's always a fun one. July is Summer Vacation. We're in August right now, so we're doing a lot of back to school, back to dance. So we have like my first ballet class, and we learn about dress code or what we need to pack in our dance bag. I wrote a book called Flory Flamingo's First Ballet Class, which I'm happy, I don't talk about it too much in this slide, but I'm happy to share a link to that if anyone is interested in that. And she has a whole lesson plan and everything to help prepare our dancers for the back to school season or back to dance season. September is ABCs of Dance. And so this is again focused on a Flory Flamingo book and learning some dance terminology and things like that. October is Fall in Love with Dance. So we do lots of squirrels, leaves falling, things like that. November is Dance Giving, which again, this is inspired by Thanksgiving. And so we do a lot of, we grow a thankful tree in our class, and we dance through the thankful tree and things like that. So that's a fun one. We also, I'll talk about this a little bit later, but we also dance out some recipes and things like that, like pumpkin pie. It's one of my favorite lesson plans that I teach. And then December, you can't see the bottom of this. I apologize for that. Maybe you can. It's Waltzing in a Winter Wonderland. So we do a lot of building a snowman, going sledding, ice skating, things like that. So that's a really fun theme for December. So once I sort of figure out what my monthly themes are, then I'm going to move on to my dance concept. So here at Dance to Learn, we are a conceptual dance program. And so what that means is conceptual dance is basically the practice of teaching dance classes focused on the dance concepts or the elements of dance. If you're familiar with the National Dance Education Organization, they're really big on dance concepts, elements of dance, and so I've sort of built a program inspired by those ideas. Why you should be teaching conceptually, I believe that this is really going to allow you to focus your weekly classes, and it's going to give you an educational component within your monthly theme. So it's just going to take your dance classes to that next level, because I feel like parents of preschool age dances and parents of preschoolers and toddlers in general, they're really all about, is my child developing the way they need to be developing, and they're all about making sure that they are enriching them with learning and knowledge. And if we can continue that in their dance education and not just make it a fun, cute activity where they wear a tutu every week, if we can really make it educational for them and talk about the benefits of dance and the benefits of learning the concepts, then I think now we're advertising and really marketing an educational dance program, which I think should be everybody's goal. And then I rotate out my concepts every week. So every week my monthly theme stays the same for the month, but then every week I teach a lesson plan that's focused on a different dance concept. And let's talk about what the dance concepts are. So in my program, I teach 14 dance concepts, and those include space, tempo, sizes, levels, pathways, directions, body parts, body shapes, positions, relationships, weight, energy, sequences, and patterns. So those are the 14 that I teach. I know there are other dance concepts and elements. We teach these throughout their first 3 to 4 years of dancing in our preschool program, and then they change a little bit how we teach them once they get into like the elementary recreational dance classes. The next component of my lesson plan anyway is the class flow. So let's talk about that a little bit. So when I plan out my classes, I try to think of my class as I'm choreographing a dance, right? We've all choreographed a dance, I'm sure. I want my class to flow seamlessly from the beginning of class all the way through the end. So my class flow, my theme and my dance concept change. My class flow stays the same. It really never changes. And this way I am providing my preschoolers with a routine, a structure. They really need that when they're young. This way they know what they can expect from dance class, and they also know what is expected of them every week. So for example, for the start of our class, we do a little introducing of the concept. And so what we do is we start class sitting in our learner's circle, and this is where I introduce the concept, and I'll use a visual aid, which is usually at the end when I stop sharing our screen. I can show you some examples of some of the visual aids I used, so don't let me forget to do that. But it's usually a picture of the concept. As you can see in the picture here, the little girl is drawing a zigzag line to learn pathways, and our theme happened to be dancing under the sea, and our dance concept was pathways. And so we learned maybe 4 different pathways: straight, curvy, zigzag, and maybe a circular pathway. And I try to go through a 4-step process. So there are 4 different learning types that I want to make sure I am captivating in every class. The first is our visual learners, which is why I provide a visual aid. They can see the pictures. I want the pictures to be bright and colorful to really captivate their imagination and really help them focus on what we're learning that day. Then, of course, we say our pathways. We practice saying the words straight, curvy, zigzag, circle, etc. And then what I do is for a single page visual aid like the one in this picture, they'll trace. So I just found these cute little pocket protector sheets on Amazon and some dry erase markers, and they'll trace the pathways. Sometimes I also use manipulatives, which are they're single items that maybe I cut out, laminate, and then they can actually move those items around, maybe if we're teaching a sequence or something like that. And then the last thing we do is we practice. So we perform these dance moves with our bodies to really get a full body experience. So I have a little balance beam, and maybe they'll tiptoe walk on the balance beam in a zigzag pattern, for example. So we always do that at the start of class. And then after we sort of introduce our concept, we move on to a BrainDance warm-up. And I try to design my BrainDance warm up around the whole theme, and I choreograph each part of the BrainDance to whatever my theme is. So I may not always incorporate the dance concept into the BrainDance. If I can, I definitely try to do that, but I make sure we get through all 8 of the patterns. And this is a link I can share with you guys, but I have my YouTube channel and I have a whole playlist full of themed BrainDance warm-ups, so I can be sure to share that link with you guys. I also have a BrainDance masterclass, so if you aren't familiar with that, I can also share that link with you guys as well. So after BrainDance, we sort of stand up, and this is when we start really exploring the concept, and we will do a standing warm-up, like if it's a creative dance class. My creative dance classes are ballet-based, so maybe if we're growing a flower, if that's our theme, and maybe our concept is body shapes, we'll do some pliés, pretending to send our roots deep in the dirt. Then we'll stand up tall on our stems and maybe do a releve with straight legs. Then we'll throw on an angular leaf and we'll practice a coupe, and then maybe a big leaf up to a passe or retire. And then we'll do some curvy flower petals and practice some different port-de-bras and things like that. And those are all sort of just still in our learner circle. It's the first sort of thing we'll do on our feet before we move across the floor. And so when I try to get a lot of our vestibular activities, balancing, twirling, jumping, things like that to include in that part of our lesson plan. After that, we develop our skills, and this is where we start moving across the floor. And my goal for developing skills, I'm thinking about the next part of my class, which is my obstacle course. And so I teach them skills that are going to be incorporated into that obstacle course. So let's just get into that. So it might be easier to explain. I call my obstacle courses a story dance pathway, because I want my dancers to learn. I want it to come back to what we're learning that day. So I think the best way to explain this is just looking at this picture. So I gave the example of growing the flower. So if this is our story dance pathway, maybe the first skill we practice are some twirls. And those are going to be our roots. And roots are twisty shapes. So we're going to do a little piqué turn. So we do 3 little toe taps in our hula hoop here, and then do a piqué turn. Our stems are straight. So maybe our next skill we would develop are some chassés across the floor in a straight pathway. So I'll just put some little jump ropes out, or pull noodles, or floor tape, whatever you have to make a straight line, and they'll chassé up the flower stem. On our little balance beam, or balance stone, I should say, this is where we'll practice an angular shape and we'll grow our leaf. And so we'll stand on this little balance block and we'll grow a coupe or a passe, and then we'll finish our flower with we'll hold up our flower petals in the air and maybe do a high fifth balance, maybe on a releve. And then for fun, you can't see it in this picture, I also had some butterfly wings, and just to finish, they put on some butterfly wings and they chassé or skip around the flower and then land on it and perform an arabesque and that's sort of the butterfly sipping some honey. So it all sort of goes back to the theme, and I incorporate the concept. And so the dance moves we would practice actually traveling across the floor, we would maybe practice our chassés, and then we would practice maybe our skips in a circle, and then throw it all together. This age group is a little bit older, so they can skip. If it was 3 or 4, instead of a skip, maybe we would do like a little releve walk with some butterfly wings added in, just as another option for you. So then after that, after our obstacle course, we would move on to creating. And this is almost like a free dance movement. I'm not a big, I like freeze dance. I think it teaches a lot, but I'm not a big fan of just playing freeze dance, like let's play Let It Go, dance around and then stop. I definitely guide them through movements, just so that it's still educational and it relates back to our theme and our concept. If you head on over to my YouTube channel, I have a whole YouTube video on freeze dance, and just it kind of goes into that a little bit more. So if you guys want to check that out as well. And then the last part of a lesson plan, now we're really getting into like the individual activities that we need to teach every week. So once we've gotten our theme, our concept, we know our class flow, now we're really getting into the actual what are we teaching. So what I like to do, I don't know if you guys do this for your dance classes, but I basically have a list of dance moves that I want my dancers to practice or learn throughout a year. Obviously, at the start of the year, the moves are a little bit simpler, and as we go through the year, we get a little bit harder so they can move on and get ready for the next, level in their dance education. So I just compile a whole list. So let's say if it's creative dance, I want them to learn, plies in first position. I want them to learn tendus, maybe a la seconde. I want them to learn piqués. I want them to learn how to twirl on 2 feet and 1 foot. I want them to be able to balance for 3 seconds on one leg at the start of the session, and by the end, maybe I want them to be able to balance for 5 seconds or whatever. So I just have my list of movements. And so then when I start looking at my themes and my concepts, I try to think creatively, how can I combine these movements together to create my story-based class? What movements are really going to tell the story the best? Then I think about the props. If you guys follow me on social media, on my Instagram, I'm always sharing props. I love props. I think I spend all my money on props, so they're really important. I love using them, and so I think about what props do I have, how can they contribute to my overall theme, how can I use them in different ways, and all of those things. And I really need props for those obstacle courses that I'm creating as well. So that's a really important part of my class and just planning out my lesson plans. The next component is music. I try to find music that is based on the theme. Sometimes that can be a little bit challenging because, maybe there's not a song that's called Friendship Cupcakes or whatever I want the song to be. But so you do have to do a little bit of digging. I have my Spotify playlist for some of my themes. I'm not great at updating my Spotify playlist because everything is just on my phone usually, but if you guys are interested in those, I can certainly share those links with you as well. And then the last component that I always think about is, of course, my theme and my concept, and I want to make sure that they're going into that overall storyline. So now let's just get into what are some things that we can turn into, a story-based lesson plan. So, of course, the first thing and the obvious one is children's stories, children's books. And how can you turn a children's book into a dance class? So what I always consider is who are the characters in my story. One story that we love doing is Yertle the Turtle. I think it's just a fun story. It has a good message. And it's about turtles, which is kind of a fun character. There's lots of movements you can do for turtles. You can do, the turtle pose from yoga. You can crawl. You can roll. You can do all sorts of really great movements as a turtle. And so I think about, okay, who are the characters in my story? How would they move? And then I go through my story and I basically find all of the adverbs, adjectives that describe the characters and really think of movements and how would I put those words into into movements, whether it's an emotion, or I know in Yertle the Turtle, Yertle's really happy because he's the king of the turtle, but then there's Mac at the bottom who's not so happy, so we can dance some different emotions and things like that, if that's the story we were using for this particular lesson plan. Then I think about like the recurring theme. So is there a theme or a dance concept that I can pull from the story to focus my lesson plan? And using Yertle the Turtle again, we could do the dance concept of weight, because we're stacking up all these turtles, so we could be light turtles, and then oh no, we dance a little bit heavier because now we have all these turtles piled on us. We could do levels, high and low levels, things like that. What dance movements would best represent the theme and concept? So maybe if we're talking turtles, we could do turtle shells maybe with our port-de-bras, so preparatory, first position, high fifth, and exploring some levels. We could, if we're talking about weight, we could start by tiptoe walking, and then by the end, we're marching really heavily because the weight of all these turtles are on our backs at that point. And then I always think about, is there a sequence or a pattern in the story that can be turned into a series of dance movements? Maybe it's, I don't think Yertle the Turtle really has a sequence, but I'm sure there are other books that do. Maybe we're dancing out, planting a garden or something like that, where there's a sequence of steps that we follow to make that happen. So again, here's the link to my YouTube channel. I have a Dance Me a Story playlist, and I have the Yertle the Turtle example, but I have a lot of stories on there, and sort of how I've turned them into dance classes. So that's a free resource for you guys if you want to go check that out, and I'll be sure to share these links with you guys as well. So another thing that you can turn into a story-based lesson plan would be something like a sequence or a process. So these could be like a scientific process, like dancing the life cycle of a butterfly, or I talked about this a little bit earlier, you could dance out a rainstorm, like curvy clouds, rain falling down street, some angular lightning poses, some loud thunder, things like that. Planting a garden obviously has a sequence that you follow. Changing of seasons is a sequence. You could do more of an event type of a sequence, like what is the process of building a snowman? What if we were getting ready for school? Obviously, we'd eat breakfast, we'd get dressed for school, we'd pack our dance bag, or not our dance bags, our backpacks. We'd get on the bus and we'd go to school. Or the flip would be getting ready for your first dance class. What would that sequence or process be? Maybe we're going to the pumpkin patch, or maybe we're going on vacation. I have one free lesson plan. I am working on a couple more to put up on my website, but I do have the Dancing the Life Cycle of a Butterfly lesson plan up on my website. Just go to dancetolearn.co, and you can access that and really sort of see what dancing a sequence or dancing a process really looks like. A recipe. So this is one of my favorites. I've talked about friendship cupcakes. I've talked about dancing apple or pumpkin pie. This is one of my favorite lesson plans to sort of develop for kids. I have quite a few of them. So I always think about, okay, if we're dancing out a pumpkin pie, for example, what are some ingredients that go into the recipe? Maybe we sprinkle some flour and we do some tiptoes. Maybe we're rolling out our dough, or we're making our dough flatten, so we're going to do some échappés to roll out our dough. Maybe we mix it all up, so we do a twirl. Maybe we bake it in the oven and we do a big stretch and a big port-de-bras to open the oven. Maybe we set the timer and we do, some piqués, and then a big arabesque ding for the timer to go off. And then we pretend to eat it all up, and it's a lot of fun. So that's sort of what I look at when dancing out a recipe. is the whole process, and then what are some dance moves that I can incorporate into the process of cooking or making a recipe. Some things that we've done before, obviously baking a pumpkin pie for our dance giving. We've done baking friendship cupcakes for like our Valentine or February theme, baking cookies, making a pizza. I know there's a really popular pizza stretch. You can incorporate that throughout your whole class and think of how you can do that standing, and what are some standing dance moves that you can use to make a pizza. My dance giving lesson plan is available for purchase on my website. I know Thanksgiving is a while away, but if you're interested in it, you can visit learn.dancetolearnuniversity.com, and it's called the Shapes, Sizes, and Pumpkin Pie Slices lesson plan. And I do want to get my Friendship Cupcake lesson plan on there too, because that one is super cute as well. And then some other ideas for dancing out a story. What could you do? Arctic animals. Animals are always fun because they move in very specific ways, and so you can do a whole lot. Sorry, my cat is meowing. I hope that's not distracting. But animals, you can move in all sorts of different ways. You can do Arctic animals, animals in the zoo, insects, reptiles, bugs, squirrels, owls, fish, pets. It's a really fun theme. You could get a little more industrial, and these would be really fun to learn, different pathways or directions. We can talk about travel, maybe construction, maybe the machines, or how do you build a building, things like that, roadways, boats, buildings. And then we can get a little bit more technical. Maybe for some older kids, we can talk about dancing out math equations. We could talk about the solar system, anatomy, maybe dancing out a historical story, things like that. So if you guys are interested in learning more about any of those things, I do have, because I did a survey with some dance teachers, and a lot of us take anywhere from 10 to 20 hours a week to plan out lesson plans. So I do have a lesson plan library, and you can always join the library. I have some memberships. So again, you can go to dancetolearnuniversity.com and click on the memberships tab. I have memberships for individual dance styles. So if all you teach is creative dance, or all you teach is ballet or hip hop, I have individual styles, or you can become a full member and get access to everything. So that's the link to that website. And with that, that is the end of my presentation. Let me see if I can escape out of here. I don't know what you guys can see. All right. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast. But hopefully that was helpful. And yeah, I don't know. What do I do? Do I wait for questions or?
No, it's fantastic. I'm going to share all that stuff, all of your links in our group in the comments. But no, it's fantastic because when I was teaching the littles, it takes so long to create those lesson plans because you want everything to move very, very smoothly. Right. Because otherwise you just lose them, and it's so hard to re-engage again. But the way that you broke it down just made so much sense.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
So I can't wait. I can't wait for people to head over. One of our, I don't know if you can see the comments, but one of the members was like, "This was awesome. Thank you."
Good. Awesome. I'm
so
glad.
I'll pop all of these links in below, and and I know Brianna, who was commenting on this, she doesn't have a space either, so she's like you, so it makes it super easy just to know exactly what you're going to do at every single location, so it's all kind of the same. But thank you again. I loved having you on. I can't wait to go check out your YouTube channel because I follow you on Instagram, and you made me laugh when you said all of your money goes back into props because I know exactly, after watching all of your Instagram stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah. I spent all my money on props, and I I'm sure my husband loves me because we only live in an apartment and it's just overran by props because we have no place to put everything. So it's like we don't have furniture. We just have balance beams and parachutes and all sorts of stuff. But
Oh my
thank
God,
goodness
I
he's
love
patient.
it.
So
I love it. I love
yeah.
it. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you ever need anything, let us know. But I will pop all that stuff in there, and I'll make sure they know exactly where to find you.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
The Dance to Learn podcast airs every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Mountain Time on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Leave a 5-star review of the podcast, and your review may be read on air for your chance to receive a $10 Amazon gift card. To be a guest on the podcast or for advertising inquiries, please email info@dancetolearn.co. Happy dancing!